guys, it's Rebecca. So today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book tag. So this is a book tag that just has a few different questions, and I'll be going over like a highlight of the books that I have read so far this year through the questions that are asked. Without dragging it out, let's just get right into the questions. So the first question is the best book you have read so far this year, and for this one I was going between two, but I finally settled on one, and I'm going to choose The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. So for this, imagine Gossip Girl, early 1900s New York City, very rich people living on the Upper East Side. Literally Gossip Girl. It's basically a lot about class and like the relationships that you have and how reputation plays a part in that. It is very character driven. If you like a character driven novel, then I would 100% read this one. It's also a very good starting classic. If you want to get into reading classics, this is the perfect one. It's filled with drama, relationship dynamics, amazing characters, very fully fleshed characters. It's so good and I would highly recommend it. If this was my first Edith Wharton, I'm so glad that I read it because I also have The House of Mirth and I've since bought another one of her short books. I'm definitely going to be reading The House of Mirth soon after reading this one. I unfortunately haven't actually had a 5-star book this year as well. This was a 4-star for me, or like a pretty, like a 4.5. Like it wasn't a 5-star, but I haven't had any 5 stars this year, so I had to kind of choose the one that I thought would probably stick with me the most, like in the long term, and I would definitely say it was this one for me so far. Like I said, I would highly recommend it 100%. The next question is the best sequel you have read, and I've only read one sequel this year, so I can only really choose that, and that is The Wicked King by Holly Black. This is the second book in the Cruel Prince series, or I think it's the novel of Elphiam series, I think is what it's called, but yeah, I just call it like the Cruel Prince trilogy because that is pretty much what it is. I read this very recently. This was one of like the most recent books that I read. Although I really loved my time reading this, the end did disappoint me, so I do want to say that the ending of this was very disappointing, but I haven't read the third one. I can't give like a full opinion, but overall I had like a really good time reading this. Like I said, it is the only sequel that I have read so far this year. I haven't read any first books of series or anything this year. This is the only one, but I'm really enjoying this trilogy so far. It's my first time reading it. I'm loving getting to read like an OG YA series. It's just like so refreshing. The writing style is just good but easy to follow. It's not too much, it's not too flowery, because I really hate that. I hate like purple prose, anything like that. I really hate it, and I was so pleasantly surprised by these. I thought that they were going to be quite flowery because a lot of the YA around this time was actually around that like 2018 kind of YA time. So good, and a very like well loved booktube trilogy as well. So good to be like in the know with the characters as well, because I actually was feeling left out with these ones. I'm really enjoying them so far, and I definitely had a good time overall with this one, although I was disappointed by the end, but so far I really enjoyed these. The next question is new release that you haven't read yet but really want to, and for this one I have chosen The Pretender by Jo Harkin. I was sent this very recently by Bloomsbury and I have really obviously wanted to get around to it. It sounds so good. It's a historical fiction and I have been really enjoying, and I have pretty much always actually enjoyed historical fiction, or just actual like fiction from that time period, like literature from the time period of like old English courts of any kind of time, so like kings and queens and all of that kind of thing. I love that. I love it in Shakespeare. I love it, that's why I like the Elizabethan period. I am interested in the Victorian period, all of those kind of historical periods where the court featured a lot, so like the Renaissance, the Victorian period, any of that where it featured a lot. Obviously I know that there is still an English monarch, but I don't know, I'm just really interested in like the history of that, and anything that is fictionalized or actually literature from the time, I am really intrigued by it. So this one, there's a very brief description on the back, so I'll just go with that to keep it kind of brief, and it gives it an overview. So it is set in 1483 and the English throne is in peril. Peasant boy and pretender Joan Cullen is faced with two options: A, become king, or B, die trying. What could possibly go wrong? It says in the front as well, Wolf Hall meets Demon Copperhead. I know that that was like a really popular book. I haven't read it. It just sounds good. It sounds like the kind of thing that I would enjoy. Like I said, historical fiction to do with like the English throne and courts. I don't know, there's something so interesting to me about that. Maybe that is coming from me like having an English degree and everything, but I do find it so interesting, so I'm really excited for this. I have no idea what the writing style is going to be like, but thank you again Bloomsbury for sending me this, because it's my exact kind of thing, so I'm so excited to read it. So the next question is most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and for this one I'm going to go for Sophie Standing There by Meg Mason. This one is a new release from Bloomsbury that is coming out at the end of September, and It's a literary fiction, I believe, and it just sounds so good. So I'll read out what it says about it on Goodreads. That'll probably be a way better description than anything that I can give, but this is definitely one I have been hearing things about and I'm so excited to read it. So it says Sophie Pattison loves books, and as well as a dream job at a local book festival, she has a husband she adores, a lifelong best friend Emma, and a brother she's always been close to, which makes you wonder why since Christmas Sophie has been living alone, estranged from Emma, avoiding her brother and about to be fired. Now it feels like the only thing she has left is reading. When Sophie rediscovers an author she first read in her 20s, the words on the page reach her in a new way, becoming both solace and company. Devouring every one of her novels, Sophie begins to dream of meeting her, knowing she never will. But what if she did? What if by then the author feels like a friend? What if for Sophie it feels almost like love? In this much anticipated novel, Meg Mason captures the heartache and dark humour of our relationships in all their complexity, giving us a story about the power of connection and an ode to the inexplicable nature of the human heart. That sounds so good. Obviously it's a book about books. It really reminds me of that quote from The Catcher in the Rye. I just got it up on my phone because as soon as I stopped reading that description of that book, it just made me think of this. So the quote that it reminded me of is, "What really knocks me out is a book that when you're all done reading it, you wish the author that wrote it was a terrific friend of yours and you could call him up on the phone whenever you felt like it." That doesn't happen much though. I'd actually be kind of surprised if the author hadn't read The Catcher in the Rye, because that is exactly what that reminded me of, and I remember reading The Catcher in the Rye for the first time and just being like, I don't know, there's something about that I just love. That kind of concept of being able to ask your favourite author a question, or like an author that you about a book that you just read, asking them a question and they're the only ones that are going to actually have the answer that you want, and to actually be able to have a conversation about what they really meant by something. I know that that's like slightly different than what like Sophie Standing There is about. I love things like that, and I kind of love that question about like the relationship that you have with an author. It's kind of like you know them and they don't know you. I don't know, I find that really intriguing, so hopefully that will be a good one because I'm so excited to read it, and I will definitely be getting it if possible. As soon as it comes out I'll be getting that. Okay, so the next question is the biggest disappointment so far, and this one I'm going to go for Bunny by Mona Awad. I was so disappointed by this. I have since sold my copy of it on Vinted because recently I've been like, I have too many books. This is like a side topic quickly, but I have too many books, so every time like I've been reading a new one that I don't really like that much, or I know that I won't be talking about it again after I do like my wrap up, I'm immediately just putting them up on Vinted. It has since sold, so that's why I don't have a physical copy of it, but I did whenever I read it a few months ago. It was so disappointing to me. Bunny is a very strange, like definitely weird girl fiction vibe. I'm sure you have heard a lot about it because it's a very popular book. It is basically about a girl, I think the main character is Samantha. She is basically in university and she has one very close friend, Ava. There are other people in her class who call themselves the Bunnies, and they dress like very over the top girly in like pastel colours. It's all very bright, and they have like slumber parties and they're very close. They call each other Bunny. Samantha has like a dislike towards them and she'll make fun of them with Ava, and eventually one day the Bunnies do invite Samantha to a sleepover like party kind of thing. Weird things start to happen. I thought it was like too weird. I loved Mona Awad's other book, All's Well. I really enjoyed that one. I thought it was very strange and it was very surreal, and I do quite like that. I'm happy to read like weird books, but this just felt not very good in terms of like I didn't really get the point. For a lot of it I was like, is this just me? But I actually don't think that it was. I think that it was very unclear. I think she could have done like a lot more with that story than she did. First of all, at the very beginning I think she could have explored a lot more, although Samantha was making fun of the Bunnies, that like she had this kind of like internal want or like desire to actually be friends with them because she felt like excluded. That was like something that I just gathered, and I suppose that is obvious, but I think that could have been fleshed out a little bit more and like explored a little bit more, which would have made it a lot more interesting. I think as well, like it was just so surreal to the point where like you didn't really, I certainly didn't know really what was going on, and as well the ending was very random and very disappointing, very odd, like to the point where it was just like I thought it was quite silly. It actually does make me feel quite bad because I definitely don't want to say like Mona Awad is like a bad writer, or I don't think she's like a good writer or any of those things, because like I know that that's absolutely definitely not the case. It's just like it wasn't wasn't for me. I mean, I've got Mona Awad's book Rouge, which I haven't heard many good things about, but who knows, maybe I will like it because I didn't like Bunny and a lot of people do like it. Definitely the most disappointing book of the year so far for me. I think I gave it like 2 stars because there was elements about it that I liked, or I liked the idea, I just didn't really like the execution of it. I think there's a lot more that she could have done, and I think that she has the ability to do it, so I'm kind of like, it was kind of frustrating for that reason, because I'm like, I know that it's there and I get your idea, you just maybe you could have done such a better job, because like she is a good writer. I'm like, you could have done more with this. So that was disappointing for me as well, because I think I expected more from her, and I expected more because it was so high. Hopefully that explains that one. So the next question is biggest surprise, and for this one I'm going to go for The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. Again, this is the first book in the Cruel Prince trilogy. Like I said earlier, I have read these ones for the first time this year. I have only read this one and the second one, The Wicked King. I was so pleasantly surprised by this one. I'll kind of stick to this briefly because I know that we've already talked about this. I was like so pleasantly surprised by this. I didn't expect this to be as good as it was. Like, I quite like writing that's like very, not necessarily to the point, but like I said earlier, I don't like purple prose. I don't like anything like too flowery. I just like good writing that's not trying to do too much. I really enjoyed this. I like the characters. I think that the main character is actually like morally grey, which I really have enjoyed so far. Like, the characters are not good or bad, and I have found that so refreshing and interesting, and it's done well. This one I kind of find hard to explain, but essentially we follow the main character Jude. At the very beginning, she is at home with her sisters and her parents. A strange man comes to the door and kills her mother and father and takes her and her sisters away to what's called Fairyland, which is basically a land of fairies. Very quickly it then forwards on to quite a few years later, and Jude is wanting to prove herself and wanting to be part of Fairyland because she is immortal. Her sister is a fairy, but she is completely mortal. She wants to prove herself in fairy. She wants to be like a warrior. She wants to fight and learn how to fight and be good at it, and she wants to fight for the king. Essentially, like, the whole book is about her trying to find her way and her trying to discover like what part she can play in the land of fairy. The characters are well done. The writing is good. I really have enjoyed my time reading these. I definitely think that this one was better than the second one, but I'm so excited to read on, and yeah, definitely a pleasant surprise. I'm so happy that I read them. So the next question is a book that made you happy, and for this one I'm going to go for The Project by Annie Lord. This is an ARC that Penguin sent me. Thank you so much to Penguin Vintage for sending me this. This one is released in July, so this month it has pretty much just been released. I loved this book. It definitely made me happy. It is a rom-com. It's about a girl who has never had a boyfriend, and all of the boys that she tries to go on dates with or like be with, they're just not very nice, or they're not very understanding, and they're not very like emotionally available or whatever. She decides with her friend to create something called The Project, where they basically give like men makeovers to help them become better boyfriends for other girls. The guy that she tries to give a makeover to, she starts to really like him. He was like one of her friends at university, so that's how she knows him. So they've been like friends for a long time, so it's kind of like friends to lovers, but it felt more than that. I feel like a lot of romances recently have been very like tropey, just kind of like hitting tropes like just for like the sake of it, and everything's the same thing over and over again. There was like something more to this book that I thought was so unique. I haven't read any romance like this. It was so realistic. It was funny. This was the other one that I was kind of debating being like the best book of the year, because I am so impressed by this book. Honestly, it's completely different to any romance I have ever read, and I actually cannot recommend this one enough. Okay, so my camera just overheated, so I think I was talking about The Project, but I had pretty much talked about it in full. I 100% recommend this one. I cannot recommend it actually enough. So if you just want something so fun and so cute to read this summer, I highly recommend this. This has been like one of the most fun books I have read in so long, so it 100% made me happy. I'm so glad I was sent this, because I don't think I would have read it otherwise. It's been like definitely a favourite of the year. Please read it. If you want something to read, then I would highly recommend this one. So the next question is a book that made you cry. I was looking through the Goodreads, all of the books that I had read so far this year, and I could not see a single book that made me cry, but the only one that I can probably best answer is one that maybe my eyes teared up at certain places, and that is All the Crooked Saints by Maggie Stiefvater. This was one that I had on my shelf for a very long time, and I'm kind of like trying to read like the books that are older that I have on my shelf, just to like try and see if like maybe there's some books that I actually can then sell on Vinted and things, just like I said earlier, just to clear up some room on my shelf. I went ahead and read this one. To be honest, I shouldn't have been surprised that I enjoyed this because I do really like The Raven Boys. Whenever I read that, I really liked that, and that is also by Maggie Stiefvater, so I shouldn't have been surprised that I liked the writing style. About it making me cry, the writing is very, very, very pretty. It was certain points that there was something like the writing was so nice that like it kind of made me feel like a little bit emotional. She'll just do like these like really pretty one-liners, and like sometimes it'll just make my eyes tear up because that's just really nice writing. And as well with like just like the story was like very cute and wholesome and so different. I really, really, really enjoyed this one. If you're looking for like a fantasy YA that's just like a short standalone, then I would definitely recommend this. It is basically about this family of saints that live in like the middle of nowhere in America, and people come from all over the place to perform miracles on them. It's not like they're your typical kind of saints. What they do is they'll perform a miracle on you, and it's not necessarily like physical healing. It can be like emotional healing. It can be like a realization that somebody needs, and they'll perform the miracle, but you go then into like the second stage of the miracle where you'll transform into something other. I don't know, you'll like become like really tall, or I think there's like two people who are become like conjoined, and you kind of have to figure out the puzzle of this, and that'll help you realize what you need to know. So the second stage of the miracle is like a physical manifestation of something that you need to figure out about yourself, but the saints cannot help you in figuring that next stage out. So they can't be like, you have got this because you're stubborn and you need to realize that you're stubborn and that'll really help you, or you need to realize that you need to be nicer or nicer to yourself or whatever. I don't know, whatever like the miracle can be. They're not allowed to help, and they're not allowed to help you figure out the reason why. Otherwise something very bad will happen to the saint that does that. That's essentially what this follows. It was kind of hard to figure out what was going on at the start, but once I got it, I was like, no, I actually am really enjoying this. The writing's just so pretty that it definitely did make me tear up at times. It's very cute. It's a very cute read. So happy I read this. I really, really, really enjoyed it. This was one I read at the start of the year, but it has obviously stuck with me and I've actually remembered what it's about, which is always a good sign. Definitely recommend this if you want like a fun, short little fantasy to read. So the next question is most beautiful book that you got this year, and for this one I'm going to choose The Beheading Game by Rebecca Lehman. This isn't necessarily beautiful, but it's definitely the coolest cover that I've got. I haven't bought a lot of new like pretty books. I don't really ever collect like special editions or anything. Not that I don't want them, but I just like do not have enough money to be doing that. This was one that was also sent to me. The books that have been sent to me I have really, really, really loved so far. So that has been like so amazing, and I'm just so happy and grateful about that. But this one was sent to me by Penguin. This is a new release within the last couple of months. This one is about Anne Boleyn. This is why it's such a cool cover, because it's called The Beheading Game. It's about Anne Boleyn. You can see that there's a woman beheaded, and on the other side it's her head. I just think that that is so cool. It's like not fully a dust cover, it's half a dust cover so that you can see she's being beheaded. I just think that that's so cool. It's so unique. I have never had a book like that before. I just think that that's so, so, so cool. So 100% I'm going to go for this one. Just as a brief description so that people know what this is actually about, because I haven't seen anybody else talking about it. It is about, like I said, Anne Boleyn, and it's what if she had come back to life after her execution, sewn her head back on and starts seeking revenge on the king. Definitely a unique one. Historical fiction, very fun, a bit of magical realism. 100% recommended. It was such a good read, such a fun read, such an unexpected, really enjoyable one. So 100% love this, and such a cool book. So the last question is books you need to read by the end of 2026. So I have picked a few. I think I've picked 4. I just kind of picked a random number and this is what I have come up with. So I'll just show you the couple of books that I have chosen. So the first one that I have chosen is We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. Every single year for like genuinely 4 or 5 years, like something ridiculous, I have had this for ages, and it's been on my TBR for every single Halloween and I haven't got around to it. And look at the size of it, it's absolutely tiny. I've never read a Shirley Jackson book before. I just really want to get around to this one. This one is a suspenseful horror-esque novella novel, very famous. There's a quote in the front that says her greatest book. That's Donna Tartt said that, and Neil Gaiman said an amazing writer. I know she's very famous as well. We don't really need like those authors to even say that. I love Donna Tartt, so it's always good to know that she really likes Shirley Jackson. Just wanted to put this on because I want to read it this Halloween without a shadow of a doubt. I need to read it and just get it off my TBR because it's so unfair to have this one sitting around every Halloween and it never getting read. 100% this needs to be the year that I read this. So by the end of 2026 I will have read this book. Let me know if you have read this and what you thought of it, because I'm definitely going to be reading this one, so I'm intrigued to see what people think of it. So the next one we have is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I have probably completely mispronounced that name, so I am sorry. This one is one that my mum has recently read and absolutely has loved it. It is set in Barcelona, and I'm going to Barcelona at the very end of August, and he gives like actual details of like the streets that he's walking, and she really wants me to read it by the time we go so that we can like kind of be like, oh, this is where he was in this bit and this is where he was in this bit, which sounds so fun. I want to read this before I go, so this one needs to be read by the end of August. It's not too long. I think that there's more in the series that are bigger than this one, so it's not actually that long. It is set in 1945 and it is a book about books. But I'll read the back of it just so that people can hear what it's about. It's one cold morning in 1945. A man brings his 10-year-old son Daniel to a labyrinthine library of forgotten titles hidden in the old city of Barcelona. Allowed to choose one book, Daniel pulls out The Shadow of the Wind by Julian Carax. But as Daniel grows up, several people seem inordinately interested in his find. What begins as a case of literary curiosity turns into a race to discover the truth about the life and death of Julian Carax and to save those he left behind. My mom was absolutely blown away by this. She hasn't stopped ranting and raving. She's like, this is one of like my new favourite books, and I think that this is a lot of people's favourite books, so I'm so excited to read it, and I'll definitely be giving a little review. It'll be so fun to read this before I go to Barcelona so that whenever I'm there I can like just think about this book. So the next one I have chosen is The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. Obviously I have talked a lot about this so far, so I won't rant on about this one. This is the last book in the Cruel Prince trilogy. I want to read it by the end of 2026 so I can finish off the trilogy, and just because I'm so excited to read it, so I know 100% I'm going to be reading this soon. This is going to be one of my next reads. Definitely want to read this by the end of 2026 for all the reasons I have just said. The last book that I really want to read by the end of this year is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I have had this since it came out. This is genuinely an edition from whenever it first came out. I have just never got around to it. This has been on countless of my TBRs. It was on my June TBR. I did my TBR jar picks, my reads. I picked this one out. I did not read it. I actually put that like TBR that month in the bin. It's now still on my TBR card, and I feel like every time people watch my TBR videos they're just going to be like, there's that book that she just constantly puts on her TBR and chooses out for different prompts, considers every single month, puts it on her TBR. This is the girl that never reads that book and just has it sitting on there for like months. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to get around to reading this. I want to read it, not only just so that people are like, why is that on her TBR every month, but also just because I will probably love it and don't want to put this off anymore for zero reason. I want to read a V.E. Schwab for the first time. I want to know what the hype is about on this one. It's still well loved after like ages, because a lot of books, like people will hype books, people will forget about them. This one hasn't been forgotten about. That must mean something. I'm so excited for this. It's so pretty. Well, that's the thing, I'm not excited for it, but I want to be. And I probably will really like it whenever I read it. By hook or by crook, I will be reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, so somebody needs to hold me to it. By the end of this year, I will absolutely make myself read this because I'm putting it off for no reason, so it just needs to be something I force myself into and read it and love it, because I probably will. I'll be raging if I don't love it, but I probably will. So knowing myself, I will like this. So definitely will be going on the TBR again by the end of this year, and it will be getting read 100%. So that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you got all the way through that video, thank you for watching all of it. If you did enjoy this video, then please like and subscribe because I really appreciate it. I will see you in the next one.